In this video, I play with hydro dipping to see how it's done and if it really is as simple and as cool as it looks. This video is sponsored by Blackmagic Design. Check out DaVinci Resolve for free, links in the description. More on them later in the video. G'day everyone, I'm Jazza and we're going to try hydro dipping today. This has been on the list for a while. Gareth has requested this for a long time.
I've wanted it for so long. We finally got here.
Everything we looked up as far as like what we need is just like water, spray paint, a primer slash color so it like grabs like it's a good base coat, and then you just dip stuff. We're going to do a couple without instructions. What's this? Orange. Let's dip something with a bit of orange.
Good stuff.
Let's keep it simple. We'll start small. Red. I mean, look at that. Look at the way it sort of spreads into the paint and patterns. That's kind of cool. We have a bunch of things we're going to dip, and what better to dip than a candle? I'm just going to go whoa and go whoa and go whoop. That's sort of worked-ish.
I think you did it too fast.
Did I?
Yeah. Anyway,
there's my first dip. Check it out. How does one clean the surface of the water between dips? Do you just like wipe it like it's a tabletop? I guess so, I guess you do. I'm hydro dipping paper towel. Custom paper towel. Let's do another dabble. Let's muck around. Let's go blue. Now of everything we've looked up, Rust-Oleum apparently is the best sort of paint as far as adhering in the dip. Going for some cool splotchy patterns. I mean, look at it, even that's pretty cool. I think this one might turn out cool. You ready?
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I gotta get better at it. I gotta learn a thing or two. But hey, I think that's cooler than what it was before. All right, off to a good start, but I'm jumping in a little too blind, so let's look at some work of people who actually know what they're doing. So you get it's tricky because the pattern sort of moves. As you spray down, it sort of pushes the pattern away, but then they must let it rest so it sort of centers. I mean, that's cool. That is such a clean result. They're being much more slow and careful than I was. What? That is such like a clean, flat coverage. And they're moving forward into the pattern. Oh my God. All right, go on. What? Look at that, so cool. Now that won't have been with aerosol, that would have been printed and dipped onto the print, but still like very cool. I want to feel confident that I know what I'm doing before I start getting experimental. So let's do at least a couple really solid hydro dips, and then we'll amp up the level, add some intensity. I thought I'd start off pretty simple with black, plain gumboots. I thought I'd go for a camo look. A mixture of green, black, and a touch of yellow swirled in together. We could get a little bit more of an army/foresty vibe. Next, you can't hydro dip if you're not dipping a hydro flask. It's sort of a rule, I think, probably. I was working with the foundation colors of whatever it is that I was dipping in. In this case, I worked with a mid blue and a light sharp blue and white. Created some swirls and tried to push the pattern and the paint around with itself to create a satisfying dip. Next, I wanted to see if I could turn a plain glass bowl into one that you could put a light or a candle in that sort of emanates a different colored light, but I didn't know if the hydro dipping paint would stick to the glass bowl on its own if it was too slippery. And given that in a lot of the examples I looked at, people pre-primed shoes, I just thought I'd give it a crack to gently mist and pre-prime the glass bowl, and then mix in some orange and red to get a bit of a lava look. Speaking of playing with some changes to light, I thought I'd try and dip a lampshade. No idea if this would work, but again, the idea being if you cast light through a bit of pigment or color, maybe it'll take on the properties of the color. I don't know. I'm just dipping everything. I'm going dip crazy. Some might call me a little bit dippy. They do call me dippy. I'm not sure that this is what they mean, but anyway. in real life, if I don't quite like the mix of colors or how it goes down on the hydro dip, I can't really change it after, especially with oil-based enamel spray paint, unless you do it in post-production with DaVinci Resolve, like this, or this, or this, or this. DaVinci Resolve has sponsored this video and also made this video possible because it's free editing software that makes, well, it runs our entire studio and runs millions of people's production pipelines. From people making their first vlogs and streams and edits to massive Hollywood studios. It's got everything you could want and more, from industry standard color grading and color correcting, to video effects that could rival anything you could do in After Effects, to the Fairlight tab, which is an entire music and audio balancing, mastering and compositioning software, and of course all the way to the Edit tab, where you cut everything up and optimize your process. And if all of that sounds a bit overwhelming, you really can just get started using the Cut tab, which takes all of the most crucial components of all the different awesome features of DaVinci Resolve and simplifies it and makes it really approachable to cut your first vlog or edit your first live stream. Check it out, links in the description. Huge thank you to DaVinci Resolve and Blackmagic for sponsoring this video and making our videos look cool, even if the artworks, you know, even if I'm learning and it's my first time. They always make me look like a pro. But let's see how pro I can get. I have some things prepared that we're gonna try that I think could be cool, but we should look around and see if there's anything cool in the building. Hey Rob, can I dip this? No. Can I dip this? No. We're on a dip adventure. Oh, glasses could be cool. Yeah, I'm gonna do some custom glasses.
It could be really cool.
I think it could be interesting. I like it. This is a good dip candidate. And we're ready. We went on a little adventure to find a few extra things that are unique to this workplace that I think we could have some fun with. All right, it's time for my dip rage mode to activate. This time I did a little bit of pre-prep, which I didn't do for any of the other items. Masking off some areas of the shoes that I wanted to keep white, separating elements of the plastic cup so that I could put it back together and have a product you might actually use and that would function. And you get the idea, going through each of these materials and breaking them apart or protecting certain areas to make sure that the dips came out as clean and satisfying as possible. Start off with the pink cup. With a lot of the other elements of the cup being removed, I just wanted to get a really solid application of the paint. Again, working with the base color of the pink of the cup, I worked with white and red, with the idea that if any of the pink peeped through, it would just look like it's part of the design. And I think it actually turned out surprisingly awesome. Next, the phone case. This one's a little challenging because the phone case itself has a gradient of orange to like a turquoise. So I decided to try and create a pattern between an orange and a blue that had an interesting texture between them, but that would also work again with the gradient of the actual plastic color underneath. But being the butterfingers that I am, I immediately dropped the phone and accidentally applied a not very great dip. But you know what? Shook and wiped it off, gave it another crack, and it actually turned out all right. Next, it was time to try the shoes out. These always look the most satisfying in a lot of the hydro dipping stuff I've watched. I wanted to make sure to have thick coverage on the surface of the water, so I went pretty crazy with the spray paint, but I also wanted to make sure I had a cool pattern, so I layered in different modes of the black, green, turquoise, and a little bit of white here and there, and really tried to work those textures and colors into each other, not too much, but enough that it had some interest and contrast. Then when it came to the dip, I just went for both at once with my hands inside the shoe and took it really slow, making sure that it had contact at every point with the surface of the shoe as I dipped. And you know what? It's not perfect. There are some little patches missing, but they're unique and actually works overall really well. And I think with some practice, you could do some pretty kick-ass kicks. Next, time for the helmet, and this is another one of those ones that is done quite a lot in hydro dipping videos. Working with the dark blue base, I mucked around with the metallic silver, as well as the different blues and a touch of black. And when it applies well, it's hard to beat that satisfaction. By this point, I'd built up a bit of confidence, so I was ready for the ultimate test, Gareth's PS4 remote. He'd been suggesting this video for well over a year. He loves his gaming, trusted me enough to give it a crack, and I wanted to make it special, working with a really fiery mix of yellow, orange, and red, and adding in a base of gold that I hoped would shine through after the dip. And then the dip happened, and it's gross. It's absolutely gross. And my problem was the gold spray paint and actually the yellow were not the same kind of spray paint that I'd used with all the other dips. They were graffiti spray paints I had from other videos, and they just were gloopy and stuck together and didn't adhere to the remote as well as it just wasn't working. So in desperation, I tried to scrape off the surface and wipe it and make another dip with just the colors that I knew I could rely on. I dipped a total of 3 times, all of them progressively looking more like Cheeto dust and spew. Gareth, I'm sorry. I tried really hard and I wanted it to be special for you, but it looks like I dug it up from Davy Jones's grave. Actually, you know what? The end result looks a little lava-y. It's kind of cool if lumpy. I hope he likes it. But if it disappointed him, at least I knew that immortalizing his picture of friendship with Rob would put a smile on his face. Not the picture itself, just the frame. And I was silly enough to make the same mistake twice in a row. Again, on Gareth's thing. I'm so sorry, Gareth. I used the gold and it's just blotchy and it doesn't work. So I guess the lesson is stick to the paints that definitely work with this sort of medium. Look, at the end of the day, it doesn't look awful. It just is blotchy and isn't a clean coverage, but overall, at least it's an even uneven coverage and it looks intentional and evenly textured in a bad way. I tried, Gareth. I really tried. And then the glasses frames. This I didn't trust would work perfectly well because it's a very small surface for the paint to adhere to, but with the lenses popped out, gave it a dip in a blue mix, and it worked all right. With the lenses back in, I reckon this could look pretty cool. I had another helmet to do, this time a less conventional one. This was a costume piece made by Amy. I went with a mix of black and red to work with that brown, but I didn't go too heavy because I wanted the brown to show through, and it actually worked really well. And then the skateboard surface. This time with a vibrant, bright fluoro pink. This was another one of those paints that wasn't the same brand as the one that was working, but I was just hopeful that it might work. And mixing the fluoro pink with black and white and trying to create a swirl texture. In the end, and after the dip, it actually looked all right. And last but certainly not least, after all that dipping, these gloves were sticky and tacky and gross. So I thought surely there's no better way to improve and fix them than to dip them. I dipped my over-dipped gloves and they were the worst. Absolute worst. Regret, and these are going straight in the bin. Good lord. It looked like I shoved my hand up the butt of it. You know what? I'm just going to stop myself right there.
As you can see, some of them worked really cool. Some of them a bit underwhelming. My favorites, absolute favorites, are the helmets. Like, this looks great. And so actually does our little costume helmet. It just turns out that spherical shape just really takes to the dip. Even the hydro flask. Really quite happy with that. Even though it was a couple of dips and it's a bit spotty in places, you know, it's unique and it looks kind of cool. Some of this stuff is fun, it works really well. Some of this stuff, however, Gareth's PlayStation remote, which is the absolute worst of everything I did. He's like, I just want you to do a cool hydro dipping thing. And this is what I did for him. So just in the nick of time, Gareth just walked in. This is not unprompted.
I want to see what you've done.
Close your eyes, open your hands. All right, open your eyes. Check it out. How cool do you feel?
Everything else looks great. How did that one end up so bad? Thank you.
I think this could be pretty satisfying. That's actually pretty sick. I think when the shoelaces are in there, that's sharp.
That is good.
I hope you found this video satisfying, and please let me know in the comments which is your favorite. Where did I most succeed? And maybe be gentle, but let me know where I most need work. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more fun with art and creativity of all sorts. You'll never know what to expect. And until next time, I'll see you later. Told you you wouldn't know what to expect.